Welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving headfirst into one of the most ancient, mind-bending texts in all of Mahayana Buddhism. We're going to unpack the Sutra of the Buddha's teaching on the Universal Gate chapter. Now, I know that sounds like a mouthful, and you might be thinking this is just some dusty old religious document, but it's actually not. It's a completely radical framework for rethinking exactly how we experience our everyday lives, our personal struggles, and reality itself. So if you're ready to have your perspective completely turned upside down, you are definitely in the right place.
Think about this for a second. What if the world you experience every single day, the sounds you hear, the smells, your absolute deepest fears, and even your greatest desires, what if they were all just an echo in an empty canyon? It sounds wild, right? But this is the core philosophical problem we're tackling today. The ultimate goal of this teaching is literally the overcoming of human suffering. But here's the catch. It doesn't do this by changing the world around us. Instead, it does it by completely dismantling and shifting our perception of that world from the inside out.
Section 1. The Cosmic Gathering. Okay, let's set the stage here. Before we get into the heavy philosophy, we really need to understand the grand, almost cinematic scale of where this story begins. Just to ground us in the actual history, the preserved text we're exploring is a digitized record translated by the brilliant monk Dharmarakṣa back in the Western Jin Dynasty. So we're talking about a very real, tangible piece of ancient wisdom passed down for centuries. The story opens at a place called Vulture Peak in the city of Rājagṛha. Now that's a real historical location, but in this text, it basically becomes the center of the entire universe. And the sheer, unbelievable scale of this event is just staggering. To put it in perspective, the text tells us the Buddha wasn't just giving a cozy chat to a few disciples. He was gathered with 800 monks and an astounding 42,000 bodhisattvas. That's enough to fill a massive modern stadium. And it gets even more spectacular. The Buddha smiles, and he emits this brilliant light from his mouth that pierces straight through the universe, calling beings from distant realms, like the bodhisattva named Hidden from Defilement, to come and witness the teaching. It is a cosmic summit of the absolute highest order.
Section 2. The Universal Gate.
So, with this massive stadium-sized assembly gathered, a key figure named the Bodhisattva Samantamukha, also known as Pu-sho, steps up. He rearranges his robes, kneels down, and formally asks the Buddha to reveal a very specific, profound teaching. In response, the Buddha introduces a concept called equal contemplation, or dengyu. What is that? Well, it's the practice of viewing all phenomena, meaning your senses, your identities, your emotions, as equally empty, illusory, and fundamentally identical. The Buddha explains that mastering this one specific shift in perspective, truly realizing that everything is equal in its emptiness, is the ultimate key to enlightenment. It's the literal gate to absolute freedom from suffering.
Section 3. Illusions of the Senses.
But how do we actually apply this in real life? Well, the Buddha starts with the most obvious chains that bind us, our physical reality. And the sutra leans into these incredibly vivid visual metaphors to make its point. The Buddha says, forms are like water foam. Sounds are like an echo in a deep mountain. Just think about that echo for a second. When you hear an echo, it sounds totally real, right? It provokes a reaction. But the very moment you try to actually grab it, there's absolutely nothing there. The text argues that every sight, every sound, every smell, and every physical sensation we chase has no solid permanent root. It just vanishes the moment it appears.
So, why does this matter for us today? Well, normal human perception is entirely trapped by duality. We're constantly judging things as good or bad. We exhaust ourselves chasing after pleasant smells, fine clothes, and comfortable physical sensations while running desperately away from anything unpleasant. It's just an endless, unfulfilling loop. But bodhisattva perception, which uses equal contemplation, sees all these sensory experiences as entirely equal and completely illusory. Whether it's a bitter taste or a sweet one, a rough rock or smooth silk, the enlightened mind sees it all as a passing mirage. This isn't just high-level philosophy, it's practically the ultimate tool for emotional regulation.
Section 4. Conquering the Mind.
Once we realize our outer senses are totally fooling us, the sutra takes us a step further. We now have to move inward. The Buddha explains how equal contemplation applies to the mind itself, to our inner demons and our deepest sense of who we actually are. This part of the text is incredibly revolutionary because it completely dismantles our attachment to our physical identities. The Buddha specifically points out that concepts of male, female, boy, or girl are just empty constructs. The text compares them to wild horses or the moon reflected in water. I love that analogy. If you dive into a lake to grab the moon, you're going to come up empty-handed every single time. Our identities are exactly like that reflection, temporary mirages. They literally only cause us distress when we try to grasp at them and make them permanent.
And it gets even deeper when we look at our emotions. The sutra gives this powerful warning. Anger is like a fire starting from rubbing trees together, eventually burning the tree itself. Negative emotions like anger, greed, and ignorance, they destroy us from the inside out. But here's the secret weapon of equal contemplation. When you view anger not as this terrifying, overwhelming monster, but just as another empty echo born from an illusion, it loses its power entirely. It literally just extinguishes itself. To really drive this point home, the Buddha goes through all the diverse realms of existence. We're talking devas and their heavenly palaces, massive dragons causing storms, suffering hungry ghosts, animals, and even the deepest, darkest hells. The text meticulously lists every single one to tell us that, despite their wildly different appearances, their fundamental nature is exactly the same. They are all entirely empty. They're all created by the mind's illusions. If you master the mind, you master all these realms.
Section 5. The Power of Samadhi.
So, you're probably wondering what actually happens when a practitioner truly masters this level of cosmic detachment. Let's talk about the profound results of this practice. The text maps out a super clear progression. Step 1, you realize the emptiness of forms and the senses. Step 2, you use that realization to overcome your inner defilements, things like that anger and greed we just talked about. And finally, Step 3, you unlock incredible meditative states called samadhis. The text names several, including one called the samadhi of leaving boundless defilements. When a bodhisattva attains this, they don't just find peace, they gain boundless eloquence and a spiritual light that literally outshines the sun, the moon, and the gods themselves. They become a walking beacon of absolute clarity.
Section 6. Mara's surprising reaction.
Now, right as the Buddha is explaining the immense power of this sutra, we hit a thrilling climax in the story. This massive cosmic gathering is suddenly interrupted by none other than Mara, the Lord of Demons. So ask yourself, why would the Lord of Demons be absolutely terrified of a philosophical lecture? Well, according to the text, Mara comes before the Buddha crying in sheer despair. He realizes that if people actually listen to the universal gate and practice equal contemplation, they're going to instantly see through all his illusions. Mara's entire kingdom is built on our attachment to suffering, desire, and illusion. This teaching threatens to completely empty out his realm. No wonder he's terrified.
And this brings us to an incredibly profound, almost cosmic joke. How does the Buddha comfort the crying Lord of Demons? He tells him, "Do not be afraid, I will not establish this sutra." Hearing this, Mara is instantly overjoyed and just vanishes. But then, the Buddha turns to the assembly and explains the joke. He wasn't lying. He simply won't establish the sutra, because the ultimate truth of equal contemplation is inherently empty. It cannot be rigidly established or held onto as a permanent thing anyway. The truth is fluid, ungraspable, and completely free. Mara was pacified by the very emptiness that terrified him in the first place.
As we wrap up our explainer of this incredible text, I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought. If the Sutra of the Universal Gate is right, if absolutely everything from your daily anxieties and fears to your greatest desires and your very sense of reality is truly an illusion, what chains are you still choosing to hold on to? Seriously, if the canyon is empty, why do we let the echoes frighten us? Try taking this concept of equal contemplation, apply it to the frustrations you're facing today, and just watch how quickly those illusions start to fade away. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope it leaves you eager to explore the empty, beautiful nature of your own reality.